Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today it's time for an upgrade of the computer for the SimRig. So here we are looking at the SimRig. This is the GT Omega Prime with the Moza R12, and down in the corner here I have got the PC that's driving all this. So the PC is a i9-7920X, 64GB of RAM, a 1TB SSD, and two GTX 1080 Ti graphics cards in there. And apart from a couple of the fans starting to make a little bit of noise, as you can probably hear, it does reasonable at keeping up with demand. However, when I'm trying to do racing and simultaneously live streaming or recording, then things start to get a little bit stuttery. So on its own, racing's no bad. So I've grabbed some benchmarks here from Forza Motorsport just to get a baseline, and we can see on the 4K unlocked frame rate, it's getting around about 51 FPS, and over on the right hand graph here we're getting a 4K locked at 60 and I'm only getting 52 FPS, and down bottom left I've got 1080p unlocked and I'm getting 72 FPS, and a 1080p 60Hz I'm getting a 60 FPS. So all these are all in the same settings, and so all the options are turned to pretty much low, and yeah, it's playable, no problems, until as we get into doing multitasking. So as I say, the racing's playable, no great issues, but as we all know, we like higher resolutions, higher quality screens and things, and certainly like to be able to do multitasking, so streaming or recording at the same time as playing games. So for the upgrade, I have gone along the similar build to what I did for my last machine in December, I think it was, last year. And that'll be the sort of basis of design, and let's take a quick look at that now. So this is the machine I built back in December. It's a 14900K with an RTX 4090, and it quite happily powers these three 4K displays, no problem. But I don't want to go all out on this machine for the SimRig. I've only got one 4K display to drive, and I wanted to keep the costs relatively sane. And I also know that obviously there's the 50 series GPUs coming out towards the end of this year or first quarter 2025, and I might end up swapping cards over as I upgrade this one to get more horsepower for my daily machine. So I've gone for the same case. So this is the Lian 011 Dynamic Evo XL, same as that one. Great case, great, lots of space. And yeah, I thought I'll just keep the same. So for all the hardware, I've gone for, again, the same Kraken 360 CPU cooler. The CPU will be again the 14900K, and I've actually got 64 gigabytes of RAM that I took out of this machine. So this machine was 128 gigabytes with 4 sticks of 32 gigabyte Dominator titanium RAM in it. However, it didn't play nicely in the 4-stick configuration, and even downclocking the RAM from 6600 down to 4800, I was still getting a lot of GPU random failures on the drivers for the GPU. So as soon as I took out 2 sticks, all good, and I can run it back at the full speed. So I've got two 32 gig sticks for 64 gigs of the Dominator titanium. I've also gone for the iCue Commander, basically for all the fans in the unit, because I've got that in the other machine and I know it plays nicely with the Signal RGB software I use just for doing all the cooling control. I've gone for a slightly smaller PSU this time, ROG Strix 1000 watt, which will be more than ample. For the motherboard, I've gone this time for the ROG Strix Z790F. I think the other one is the F Wi-Fi 2 or something like that. Very similar motherboard, but it'll do the job just nicely. And for the GPU, I've gone for the RTX 4080 Super instead of the ROG Strix 4090, which is in the other one. And then for the SSDs, again, I've gone for the Kingston KC3000s. So these are 7000 megabytes per second SSDs, so 2 of them, each 2 terabytes. And for the fans, I know the 011 Dynamic XL can take 2 120 fans on the exhaust, and then I've got 6 140 fans, 3 for along the bottom and 3 for the right hand panel as intakes into the machine. So with the Evo 11 XL case, I also know that the front USB sockets, of which there is 4 Type A's and 1 Type C, there's 2 19-pin cables for connecting to the motherboard, but the motherboard only has 1 19-pin connector, same as on the other motherboard in the machine that's built there. So I did manage to find this port splitter on Amazon, so I thought I'll give that a try, and that'll at least get me all my ports operational on the front. So it is USB 3.2. So we'll see how that goes, and I can always get another one of these to upgrade the other machine, as it seems a bit pointless having 2 empty USB ports at the front. Alright, so that's all the parts, that's how it looks, and let's get building. Alright, so here's the case. I've taken off the top grille, the front and the left glass panel, and removed the side panel here. And learning from what I did on the first build last time, I know straight away that I am going to remove these 2 drive trays. I'm not using traditional hard disks, so I'm going to remove them, and that gives me more space in here to work with the cables and with the power supply, which sits in here. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reconfigure the motherboard tray. I'm going to remove this bottom panel, and that'll allow me to drop the motherboard tray right down to the bottom, and then that'll allow me to move this back up to the top, and that'll give me the space for the 2 120 fans at the rear. And then inside here I've got 3 140 fans along the bottom and 3 along the back, and then obviously the CPU cooler will sit up here at the top, and then I've got plenty cable grommets all the way around for all the various cables through the system. So let me get the hard disk trays out of the unit. I'll be back soon. Alright, so that's the motherboard tray being lowered down to its lowest position. As you can see here, we've got the 2 spacers at the top, and then the motherboard tray, and around the rear I've removed the 2 drive caddies for the HDDs, which we ain't going to be using. I've also pulled off the 2 cable supports, which you can move into different positions, and again there was one here when we started, but that's where the rear of the power supply will be, so we'll use them elsewhere once I see how the cables are going to sit. So next up, let's get the motherboard in. Alright, so we've got the Kraken 360 CPU cooler mount on the back of the motherboard, and that's screwed into place. We've checked the positions of all the standoff, make sure they're all suitable, and they are, and now it's a case of just fitting in the motherboard. I've pulled all the peels that were protecting all the components, including the one that was on this IC down at the bottom, which wasn't very obvious, but yet there was a peel on there as well. Alright, so motherboard is in place. Next thing to do is remove the heat shields off of the motherboard and get the SSDs installed. So there'll probably be an SSD slot under here and one under here as well. Alright, so that's the 2 SSDs installed, and there is another 2 spaces under here I believe, although I haven't checked the manual, but always got room for expansion there. And next is just to put on the heat spreaders, and don't forget to remove the plastic protection off the bottom. Alright, so next up, that's the heat spreaders back on the top of the NVMe SSDs. I'm going to flip the case over and install the power supply on the rear. And as I said at the beginning, it's going to sit in this slot here, so let me get that. Alright, so it's the power supply in place. Next thing I'm going to do is flip it back over again and continue working on the inside. Alright, so I nearly forget again, but I've gone back and fitted the anti-sag bracket for the graphics card, so it sits between the motherboard and the case with a couple of plastic spacers over the motherboard standoffs, and that allows us to give a bit of support for the GPU once it's in place. Alright, so next up we're going to start fitting some of the fans. So I've got 3 140 fans to go in here, 3 along the bottom, and then the 2 120s on the rear of the case. So let's get into it. Alright, so I've got all the case fans in, so I've got the 2 rears, 3 along the bottom and 3 at the back. And what I've done is these EK fans are loop fans, so you can actually connect them in together in series. So what I've done is I've actually put them into pairs. So there's 2 that are one pair, this 2 in the left, bottom left are another pair, these 2 in the bottom corner are a pair, and then these 2 at the back right are also a pair. And then that means I think I can get away without using the iCue commander, because there's sufficient motherboard headers for fans, so there's plenty along the bottom, and then I've also got some at the top and in the middle. Obviously I need to keep the CPU fan for the top cooler and the AIO pump for the water block of the all-in-one. Alright, so we'll worry about the wiring later. Next thing to do is get the CPU cooler in at the top and mount the CPU, and yeah, let's go. Alright, so I've got the CPU cooler roughly mounted where it should be. I've got plenty of room to slide it back and forth, which I'll do once I mount the actual block onto the CPU, and that'll allow me to adjust the tubing just slightly. So what I'm thinking is it'll be the same as the other build. I'll have it in rotated round like that, and then I've got plenty of room at the back here for the GPU, and it also keeps the tubes away from the fans and also keeps the front of the PC around the RAM slots all clear. Okay, let me mount the CPU where it should go. Alright, so I've got the CPU cooler in place and I've got the RAM in place, and the next thing to do is I'm going to start doing some of the wiring, and then once the wiring's done, that'll just leave the GPU to drop into this slot here, and hopefully that will be it all done. So let me get on with the wiring, and I dare say this will be a bit of a spaghetti jigsaw, trying to get the best routing, but hey ho. Alright, catch you in a bit. Alright, so that's all the wiring done. GPU's in, everything's cable tied in place, and everything's free, and there's no obstructions on any of the fans. I've decided I'm going to leave the corner support pillar in place just in case anybody leans on that corner while it's sitting next to the SimRig, just to give it a little bit of extra strength, but so far so good. I also had to take the support bracket back off again. It felt like it was pulling the GPU forward and not letting it sit fully back in the slot, so I'll maybe come back at a later date and just put a 3D printed bracket in between the fans up here. But it's only a 2U card, so sorry, a 2-slot card, and it's really well supported in the clamp at the back, so I don't think it's going to move, and it's not going to be vibrating around or anything, so all will be good. And round the back, all the wiring's in place, all tidied up, and I've put the splitter for the front panel USB up here in the corner, and that seems to be sitting there okay, using the velcro straps just to hold it in place, and yeah, all done. So next up is to put the glass panels back on and power it up. Alright, so as you can see, it is alive. It's got its default RGB front strip, which we'll sort once we get Windows installed and hook up Signal RGB, etc. And we can see inside the Kraken cooler is showing the liquid temperature. The 2 memory sticks are both working, all with their default RGB. And I've also used the Windows Media Creation tool to create a bootable installation USB, which you can see plugged in there, so that is happily installing as well. So the USB splitter for the front panels is obviously working, which is great. So I'm just going to leave Windows to install and we'll come back later. Alright, so the new PC is built and it's in place. So I had to manhandle it in here, but we've got it there in the end. It's a bit hard to see with the reflective lights and things, but never mind. The computer, I set it up on a little wooden plinth I made just to take it off the floor, and it's sitting there quite nicely, no problems, fitting the space well. So as we can see, we've got the PC in behind the corner there. I've got a small tablet on the right hand side just for SimHub, and then of course got all the rest of the rig set up there. Alright, so let's head into the PC and let's see what the benchmark is doing now. Alright, so here we are in Forza Motorsport. So we're using this obviously because it has the built-in benchmarking. Generally use ACC for the racing, but it's fine just to have something else to have a thrash around in, so to speak. Alright, so we go into the settings and have a look at the display. We've currently got everything set at Ultra, 4K, and DLSS is set for Ultra Performance, and over in the graphics as well, everything's set to Ultra or Auto. And let's run the benchmark. Alright, so the benchmark there came in at 108 FPS, which isn't too bad considering that we've got OBS Studio recording in the background. But no, all good. So when I've previously done this without OBS running, it has come in just over 125 frames per second with settings as I've shown you. Alright, let's come out the benchmark and we'll go in and go on to a free play just so we can see what it looks like out on the field, so to speak. So I've got a quick event set up. Let's take the Audi R8 V10 out for a spin and we'll go on to the Nurburgring Nordschleife and let's leave the weather as clear. And there's 23 other drivers on the track, so being a tight, narrow green hell, then there's probably going to be some carnage, so we'll wait and see what happens. Okay, seatbelts on.
The Nurburgring Nordschleife, the Nordschleife, is the ultimate test for drivers and their high-performance cars. You can never truly conquer this place, only drive it with total respect.
So I've been still trying to get the settings just right for the Moza wheel and wheelbase, the R12, but it's reasonable at the moment. It still feels a little bit light, so maybe need to dial it in a bit more. Anyway, here we go. Starting position was 13. And that's it, you boys crash into each other. Fine. Let the back spread out a little bit. And we can start picking them up. I nearly overdid it on the brakes there. Took a little bit of a side step. Thank you very much, Mr. Porsche. There, I wasn't paying attention, it was going off already. Hopefully the pack will thin out a little bit. Oh, I was late braking there, that was my fault. I wasn't paying attention.
spun me. Oh, well, we held it together, sort of. Take it around the outside, maybe. A little bit of a rub. Oh, I got a little bit light there. Light and layering. Currently in 11th. Hopefully I don't wipe out anywhere. I thought maybe a little bit more carnage from them in front, but never mind, they're packed up. So he's in the way. What are you doing? I haven't touched you. on the grass. Keep it together. Keep it together. Sorry, Mr. Car.
Total time penalty is about a second.
0.8 second penalty. I've lost it. Touched the ground. Down to 7s again. Sixth. Maybe get one of these, maybe two. Maybe tight before the end. He hit the brakes there, never mind, good job I wasn't right behind him. And the finish. Here we go, finish third, that'll do. Whew, got a headache now. Alright, there we have it. Thank you very much for watching. That's the new PC in place. Dare say we've got hours of fun ahead, and we'll get it running on ACC, and hopefully we'll see you soon. So thank you very much for watching. Take care everyone, and happy racing.